All the presenters at tonight's DNC did their best to ignore the violence and decay of all the
Three-minute warning. 3-minute warning. Call your friends. 3-minute warning. 3-minute warning. Call your friends. Tonight's program is live from America Free Radio Studios, somewhere east of the Appalachian Mountains. Studio will be online in approximately 2 minutes, so just hang out. Fill up the comments on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and don't forget YouTube Live. One-minute warning. 1 minute until showtime.
Joe Puro, Fox News. The FDA has issued an emergency use authorization of convalescent plasma for COVID-19 patients. President Trump making the announcement from the White House.
In late July, we launched a nationwide campaign to ask patients who have recovered, and these are patients that have been incredible the way they've donated. But these are people recovered from plasma.
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says there was about a 35% better survival rate in patients under 80 and not on artificial respiration. The Gulf Coast bracing for a 1-2 punch from Hurricane Marco and Tropical Storm Laura.
Louisiana's Governor John Bell Edwards warning Louisianians to be prepared tonight to ride out the storm. Hurricane Marco expected overnight into tomorrow. The governor really warning Louisianians that for the next 72 hours, they need to be hunkered down because the reality is that power restoration crews and emergency crews will likely not be able to respond. And that's because Tropical Storm Laura, which is also expected to be a hurricane, will be following closely behind.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Takuma Sato has taken the checkered flag at the Indianapolis 500. Final call on NBC Sports.
And this is a really special moment. Really special moment. And the way that he had to...
Yeah, let's bring this thing home, man.
Let's bring it home. And he is...
Thanks, Sky, baby. We won it.
Takuma Sato is a two-time winner of the Indianapolis 500.
The win came under a caution flag after an earlier crash. Scott Dixon came in second and Graham Rahal finished third. America is listening to Fox News.
Who knew that the same company that made the twist ties and also made the face shield?
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
And greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future. In here, the results are always positive. We may go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us. Just checking the chat room in YouTube. Looks very good. Lots of people there. Good way to start. Lots of new people. Festus is there and Stephen Andrus is there. Good to see you. Starlight, I am so happy to see you. Julesy, excellent, excellent. I know it's going to be a good program now. Eric, hello. Stephen, let's see. I had another one, S. Cush out there. That's a new name. I haven't seen that before. And James, welcome back off the road. Mona, glad you're holding down Western Oregon for us out there in the countryside. I got something hanging in front of my eye right here, part of my ponytail, I'm sure. And I'll see moderators should be, yes, Boo's in there. Good, good. Everything is good. We're all in good shape. 5 by 5. Everything is good. Sound is good. Let's get started. First, the Religion of Peace report. In the last 7 days, the Religion of Peace conducted 47 attacks. I read most of them, and they're horrific. 169 innocent people killed in the last week. 161 innocent people injured. No suicide blasts. This was all hand-to-hand, and they spread their mayhem across 10 countries. Churches, schools, restaurants, hotels. It was really quite unbelievable. All of this from the religion of peace. You think Chicago is bad. Well, it is, but it's not as bad as the religion of peace. My hat tonight is off for Neil Armstrong. Dies at 82. Neil Armstrong, who in 1969 took a small step to become the first human to set foot on Mars. He described his first steps on the lunar surface as a giant step for all mankind. He died yesterday, underwent coronary bypass surgery on August 7th, a couple days after his 82nd birthday. You got to be pretty healthy to undergo that. I'm pretty amazed at the health of the astronauts, by and large. One by one, they have been dropping off. Of course, we interviewed Edgar Mitchell here just a few months before he died, and what a fantastic personality he turned out to be. Neil, passed away following complications resulting from cardiovascular procedures. Neil was our loving husband, father, grandfather, brother, and friend, wrote his family. And you can check up on him at neilarmstronginfo.com. That is a man of history, to be sure. All right, school is out, it looks like. School is out forever. Yeah. Senator Rand Paul and Representative Chip Roy, he's a Republican from Texas, they have introduced companion pieces of legislation that would allow federal education funds to follow individual children to their chosen school or learning environment. And that's important. Not just a school, not just a charter school, not just a church school, a religious school, or a private school. We're talking homeschool as well. Imagine that. Follows them to their learning environment. Now, I don't know if it'll get enough votes to get out of Congress because, as you know, the teachers union is extremely powerful, way, way more powerful than the NRA, and they control about 70% of Congress, so I don't know if it'll pass. But early in August, Senator Paul, the member of the Senate committee that oversees education, and this week Roy in the U.S. House, launched the Support Children Having Open Opportunities for Learning. It's cleverly called the School Act. The bill is, in the Senate is 4432, will allow federal funds appropriated for kindergarten through 12th grade to follow the student. And its companion bill in the House is H.R. 8054. As Deborah Simmons wrote in the Washington Times, the School Act assures the money follows the child, not the system. Both lawmakers say the difficulties associated with the coronavirus pandemic have made it imperative to allow federal education dollars to be returned to families to allow them to make the best choice of education venue for their children. Now, I know a lot of people who are choosing homeschooling now. And, terrifically great people and had good jobs, which are either part-time now or non-existent because of Operation Corona Scare. But they have a couple of kids, and school should have started already, and it has not, because the teachers union wants to keep teachers on full salary, but they don't want to go to work. So they have a tremendous amount of power politically. Typically in a county, 60 to 70% of the budget of any county is spent on the school system and educating kids. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And where does it come from? It comes from homeowners. It comes from property taxes mostly. And all of the money is still going to the school system, but we have now shown in the last 8 months that government schools are not essential. Now, haven't we? We have, yes, right? We've shown that. Now, I'm not saying teachers are not essential. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I would say that if the president would take my advice, you're listening, right? You're listening, because you do listen. I know you do, because I'll share with you later in the program something that you mentioned that I mentioned on this program. And a few hours later, I was on Breitbart Radio at about 6:25 in the morning, And I mentioned it again on national radio with Alex Marlowe. And then 2 days later, you mentioned it in a news conference. So I know that you listen. I know you're paying attention. I would say that the National Education Association, the NEA, the teachers union, the largest one, needs to be dissolved as a matter of national security. It does. It needs to be dissolved as a matter of national security. They are never going to allow school the way we had school before. They're just not, because it's their way of putting their foot on the neck of American families. Well, lift the foot, dissolve the union. Now, that doesn't mean the teachers won't be able to find work, because they will. All kinds of schools will spring up. Why? Because now there's demand. Now there's demand and the ability to pay for it. According to a press conference, a press release from Senator Paul's act, this is going to be able to follow people, whether it's in-person instruction, remote learning, public school, private school, or homeschool. Now, these people that I know, the father is working, the mother is maybe part-time working, and maybe not working at all. So they've had some income disparity in their homes. I could tell you that a lot of these women, they don't make a lot of money. They might make a little over minimum wage. They might make $12, $15 an hour, but do the math. If it wasn't for school, they would be paying for childcare. And childcare for, let's say, 2 kids is about $250 a week. That's $1,000 a month, plus the clothes, plus the gas, plus, it's a lot of expense to go to work. By the time you wash it all out and you take the, let's say, $12,000 to $17,000 a year that those kids would normally get from the tax system in the school system where they attend, that's about $34,000 a year. You'll be paying mom $34,000 a year to stay at home and educate her kids. Now, what do you think the motivation is? We're not destroying the public school system. To tell you the honest truth, the school is not the gym, it's not the football field, it's not the basketball stadium, it's the kids. It's not the teachers, it's certainly not the administrators that back up the teachers, it's the kids, right? It's the kids. So the money no longer will follow the teacher. The money will no longer follow the administration or the school or the sports program. It will follow the kids. And don't worry about the sports program. Believe me, I had and raised 4 kids all the way out of high school into college, 2 of them through college. And I can tell you right now, every single one of them played sports. But they didn't play in school. They played in city leagues. Basketball, soccer, little league, and football. None of it associated with the schools. They all get to play. And if they have talent, they will get discovered. You know why? Because that's where the scouts will go. I'm just telling you. According to the press statement, the School Act also ensures each child receives the same amount of money, regardless of the choice of school, and that children who accept the federal education funds may still participate in federally funded school food programs. The School Act would also protect non-public schools from federal and state control. I had a debate in Atlanta one time. I was on the Sean Hannity program. Sean Hannity at the time didn't really have his own program. He was working with Neil Bortz. Neil Bortz is a huge pioneer in this business. He actually inspired me to get in the business. And he gave a venue for Sean Hannity to display his talents as a co-host, and eventually Sean got his own program and got syndicated, and the rest is talk radio and late night or news TV commentary history. Sean Hannity will go down in the Broadcaster Hall of Fame, both television and radio. Quite a talent he is. I was on this program, and we were debating this very subject. In fact, we were debating homeschooling. And the problem in those days was that the federal government was trying to put regulations in place to govern homeschooling. Now, the supposition was that the kids weren't getting the right education because they were sitting at home and, mom, she's not a professional teacher and maybe they're not going to get the quality of education, even though we could prove from the data that homeschooled kids did better on the standard exams. They were better educated. They did the same tests, the same textbooks. They didn't need a professional teacher. Could they do better with one? Yeah, maybe. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was that the federal government was trying to control the home schools. They wanted to come in and inspect the home. They wanted to make sure that the learning environment was good, that you had electricity, that you had fast internet, that you had proper nutrition, that there was no strife in the home, no alcohol in the home, no weapons in the home. You get it? You see where I'm going with this? I'm just telling you, this is a huge, huge deal that Rand Paul is putting forth from the Senate, and is also being put forth from the House by Chip Roy, the Republican out of Texas. This is going to get signed onto, and the reason is because there are moms and dads everywhere who have kids, who care about their kids, and they're going to call their congressman, they're going to call their senator, and they're going to say, you know what, we don't just like this, we love this. This is a great piece of legislation. Now, what's going to happen to the government school buildings? Again, we don't really give a rat's ass. But I can tell you, if you dissolve the teachers' unions as a national security threat, Mr. President, or your staff, if you're listening tonight, dissolve the teachers' unions as a threat or at least a risk to national security, those buildings can be taken back over by the counties in which they exist, and they can be run with private teachers. That means that those teachers will be making the same or better money because, as you know, the unions drive the cost of education through the roof. I don't know if you know this. You never served on a school board. I have, and here's the deal. For every single teacher, there is an administrator. What? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Teachers in the class, doing all the work, preparing the lesson plans, taking the risk, doing the discipline, issues in the class, trying to be entertaining enough to keep the kids' attention during the class and make sure that they learn the material so they can pass the national or at least the state exams. But there's an administrator that never comes to the class, that just pushes paper. They don't even grade papers. They just are an administrator. Why? Because the union demands it. So you're not only paying the, $33,000 to $53,000 a year for a teacher, depends on where you are in the country. I'm sure they don't make much more than that. You're also paying the administrator. Now just imagine, if you will, a school system where the teacher got to put about half that administrator's salary in their own pocket. Well, now you're talking a teacher making between $45,000 and maybe $75,000 a year. That's a great second income. And if both parents are teachers, that's middle class or better, which I would venture to say teachers are not in now unless they own a lot of real estate and play during the 3 months that they're out of school in the real estate market. Some do. I know a lot that did. And they had other jobs. They had shops at home. They had tutoring that they did. There were other things that teachers did to raise money for their household. Most households have multiple streams of income, and this is how it goes. So what do you think about that? Let me just check the chat room real quick. Yeah, what? Well, there's a lot of conversation going on in the chat room. Just checking to see if there's anything. They're talking about Discord. I am on Discord, but I'm not on Discord when I'm live. It's too much going on, all right? I have 2 screens, 4 programs running at the same time, plus my notes, and it's too much to watch, so I don't do Discord live. I may someday. I may add 4 screens or 5 screens. I don't know. You may see me looking all over the place. TV works on the moon? Probably not, because the signal doesn't reach that far, Festus. Just to let you know. You would have to put a TV station on the moon. Yeah, it would be the Lunar News program, I'm sure. A lot going on up there. But once we get the Schrodinger's the region of the South Pole, okay, it's Schrodinger's Valley. on the moon. And specifically, there are big craters on the south pole of the moon. One of them is the Shackleton or Shackleford? I think it's Shackleton crater. It's filled with helium-3, we believe. We would like to send a probe up there, dig down into it, take a sample of it, get the sample back here, or at least to the International Space Station, and examine it. If it is frozen helium-3, like we suspect that it is, then the next gold rush is on, baby, and energy is the name of the game. Don't believe me? Read my book, Asteroid Mining, The Future of Energy. Let's see. Something out there about meteor showers. Yes, I get that. Julesy, 58 watching and only 9 likes. What is up with that? Actually, there are 19 likes now, so we're doing better. If you're listening live, just slide over there and hit the like button, okay? And we'll it helps. It really helps, okay? We have almost 9,000 subscribers. We get 100 or so that watch live. We have about 1,000 more or 1,500 more that will watch the video at some time or another in the next week or so. And we do get a couple hundred likes. We rarely get a dislike unless I do something really obscene, which I don't. It works okay. And we would like to grow it, but we'd like to see a lot more likes. And YouTube will actually let people find us, which would really be kind of cool. Yes, Warrior B, you're exactly right. Slam that like button. like it's Maxine Waters' face. No. Slam it like it's the tip button at the restaurant, you know? Ever been to a Japanese restaurant? I really like the Japanese restaurants in Japan. Because they give you a button, and the button looks something like this. This is just a LED light, see? Press it and it lights up. But you have a button, and if you need something at the table, you don't have to wait for the waitress to, notice you, because you might have your invisibility cloak on like I do when I'm at the restaurant. So you just hit the button, and they're actually graded on how long it takes for them to get to the table and respond to your button. And they will immediately come to your table, and you'd say, yes, we'd like more of this, and you point to the picture because most people don't speak Japanese, and they will immediately bring it. We affectionately in Japan called it the beer button. It's a great idea, don't you think? Bars would just do great. Those little round tables with 3 or 4 or 5 people sitting around them or standing around them, if you had a beer button on it, that would just be great. Why, your waitress would make a fortune, wouldn't it? It's a great idea. It's already been thought of. It's not my idea. I'm just saying it would really work. Yes, yeah, even at a Wild Wings. Yes, even at Buffalo Wild Wings, it would work. Let's see. Yes, the best sushi is still walking. Yeah, I get it. I'm tuna. I'm a tuna person. I like the raw tuna. It's really, really good. Shrimp, in Japanese, it's ebi. I like it cooked. I'm not eating roaches of the sea raw. It ain't happening. All right, let's talk about the sea a little bit. Dual hurricanes in the Gulf right now. Hang on a second. Before we go to the next subject, we have a couple of callers. Let's take Savannah, Tennessee. Savannah, Tennessee, welcome to the program. What's on your mind? Hi.
Hello?
Yes, hi. How are you?
Oh. Wow. I was just wanting to say, how can they disregard schools? That is really crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But, school must go on because the kids, they're undergoing critical development periods where they have to learn their times tables. They have to learn how to read. They can't wait for all this politics bull crap. They can't wait for teachers' unions to be satisfied that the schools are going to be safe. Let's let the money follow the kids and educate the kids, and the public schools be hanged, don't you think?
Oh, most definitely. But do you think if Trump, I hope Trump gets elected, do you think things will change?
Well, that's a big question. Things will change. Yes, I do think they'll change in the sense that I call them the global syndicate. They're not going to be happy that they lost. I don't think they're going to let up at all. I think Portland and Seattle will burn to the ground.
It will. It will. He's let it go.
I like President Trump for a couple of reasons. One is that he's not a politician. It's a little raw, it's a little rough, but he doesn't stick his finger in the air and see which way the wind is blowing before he opens his mouth. But he is a very smart guy, and he's been planning this for 30 years. He didn't just step into the job and say, "Oh my God, what do I do now?" He knew exactly what to do, and what he does works, don't you think?
Oh, yes, sir. I most definitely believe that. But there's all kinds of weird things going on. All kinds of, laws.
Yeah, you might have to turn your radio down there in the background because I can hear a little bit of echo. But you're exactly right. There are a lot of laws and a lot of regulations. I think that the regulations, which have the force of law, are way too many. You can't hardly turn left or right without stepping on one. And President Trump has done a very good job of rolling those regulations back so that small businesses have room to breathe, have room to move, and do what they do. I don't know how. I lived in Tennessee for a long time. 2 of my kids were born in Tennessee. And I lived in East Tennessee. It was a very productive area. We had an industrial park. By the way, Lincolnton, North Carolina, just hang on just a little bit. We're going to go to a break. And when we get back from the break, I'll put you on. You've been on hold for about 4 minutes, so that'll be about right. The issue is that when you're in Washington, when you're inside the Beltway, it's a whole different world. It's a world like a bubble. And the only thing that counts is who's going to write me a check today. They go to the floor, they do the voting. That's where you see them on C-SPAN or the news or whatever. But as soon as they're done with that, that's why all those chairs are empty that you see all the time. As soon as they're done with it, they run across the street to the Rayburn building or some of the older buildings if you're a junior congressman or senator. And they're dialing for dollars. They're raising money because those guys have to run again. They got to win again in 2 years. And in Washington, 2 years is 2 minutes. Right now, we're going to take 3 minutes. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. More X Squared Radio. Don't go away.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Do you have any of these symptoms? Night cramps in the hands and feet. Your arms and legs often go to sleep. On short walks, do your legs get aches and pains? Is your memory worse than it used to be? Ankles that swell late in the day? Has your blood pressure increased lately? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, you may have early warning signs of arterial blockages. Your body is saying that it is time to take Extendivite. These are not the normal signs of aging. They are the warning signs that accompany blocked arteries. Get your Extendivite today. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite. Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries and build up from that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR Frequency Radio.
Hey, really quick, I wanted to thank S. Cush for making a generous donation during the break. Thank you very much. I have been saying that all the money that goes into the Top Chat is going to go to the North Pole Inner Earth expedition. And in lieu of what has happened to Steve Bannon saying all the money is going to go toward building the wall, of course, he raised $25 million. We've raised about $1,000. So I don't think they're going to come after me just yet. But let me just say that some of that money could go to the overhead of actually running the program and getting some ads out and publicity out so that we can do even better trying to raise money for the North Pole Inner Earth expedition. I think generally we have the science down. We have the business plan that's very well written. We have the universities we've spoken to, and I think all of that is good. All we need to do now is raise the money to charter the ship. So I'll put that little disclaimer in there. Also, Eric is worried about going to war with China. Listen, we're already at war with China. We've been at war with China for about 2 years solid. They're attacking us on a lot of fronts. They're sending fentanyl to our country. They're sending automatic weapons parts to our country. They're sending counterfeit cash to our country. They're very soon going to be sending counterfeit ballots to our country. They cyber attack us. They steal our technology, and they intimidate American businesses and American universities with their money. So we've been at war already with China. If you're talking about a shooting war, I wouldn't worry about it. And I'll tell you why. Because everything China builds is crap. Oh, it looks good. It sails around good. It might even fly. It might even shoot once or twice. But everything China makes is crap. But even if their stuff worked 2 or 3 or 4 times before it broke, their army is not leaving China. They're not going to send their army out to invade another country. It's not going to happen. Because as soon as those Chinese people get outside of China, they're going to take that uniform off and they're heading for the hills. They want a ranch in Brazil. Yeah, they want to open a business in Tulsa. They don't want to fight for the CCP. The CCP is not China. So don't worry at all about that, Eric. They're going to go to the moon. They're going to put things in orbit. They're going to try to go to Mars. They already have something going to Mars. That's China. If it ever makes it, I'll be very surprised if it does. Everything China builds is crap, so don't worry about it when it comes to combat. Chinese have always lost every single conflict they've ever been in outside their own country. Don't worry about that at all. Okay, let's go back to the phone. Oh, the caller in Lincolnton gave up. Don't do that. You can do that. I'm watching the calling boards. I'm really easy guy to talk to. All right, let's talk a little bit about these dual hurricanes. The United States could witness a rare Fujiwara effect. It is not unheard of, but it is rare. 2 storm systems expected to come in close proximity in the Gulf of Mexico next week. I'll tell you what would be fun. I don't know if you know this or not, but in the Gulf of Mexico, there are about 24,000 empty oil rigs. Old oil rigs that have been abandoned years and years and years ago. When I was working down in Mississippi for a year, I actually talked to a guy who owned a pretty good boat. And what I was going to do is leave out on a Friday after work. We were going to take off out in the Gulf, find an old oil rig platform somewhere, and he's going to drop me off. And he's going to pick me up Sunday night. I was going to stay Friday and Saturday night out there under the stars in the Gulf and just listen. Just hang out, among these old abandoned oil rigs. Nobody watches them. Nobody cares. Just see what's going on. See what's up, right? See the meteor showers or whatever from the Gulf of Mexico. It is a great hiding place for anybody that wants to scoot around and slide around in there and no one ever pay attention to you. You could spend a whole summer going from platform to platform to platform, just having a blast, fishing and hanging out, sunbathing, whatever. It would be great. It would be awesome. Of course, if a storm came up, you don't worry about it because that platform's probably not going to go anywhere. Not going to go anywhere. But it was just neat. It was a neat idea. And I have another storm story I'll share with you in a minute. All eyes are on the Gulf Coast as the 2020 hurricane season nears its most active month. The National Hurricane Center is currently tracking 2 storm systems. Tropical Depression 14 is moving along northwestward over the northwestern Caribbean Sea and is expected to develop into a named storm and reach hurricane strength. Sort of. I mean, it's not Katrina strength because it's already there. Tropical storm Laura is moving toward the U.S. from the Atlantic, prompting warnings for the northern Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico Friday morning. While the intensity of Laura remains uncertain, the National Hurricane Center currently projects both systems to slide into the Gulf, nearing landfall around the same time, Tuesday to Wednesday. I think it's going to result in a lot of nothing, a lot of rain, maybe some things turned over. Tropical Depression 13 also strengthening into Tropical Storm Laura Friday, a couple days ago. It's moving at 21 miles an hour. It had winds of about 35 miles an hour. It's a hurricane. It's a tropical storm. The center is then expected to cross the Yucatan Peninsula next Saturday, and last night, and move into the Gulf of Mexico today. Maximum sustained winds, as I said, about 35 miles an hour. It's going to strengthen a little bit as it gets into the warm water. It's going to re-strengthen today, and we'll see what happens. I wouldn't go out and buy gasoline futures just yet. When 2 hurricanes spinning in the same direction pass close enough to each other, they begin an intense dance around their common center. If one hurricane is a lot stronger than the other, the smaller one will orbit it and eventually become crashing into its vortex to be absorbed, kind of like coalescing neutron stars. 2 storms closer in strength can gravitate toward each other until they reach a common point and merge, or merely spin each other around for a while before shooting off in their own paths. But often the effect is additive when hurricanes come together. A lot more rain, a lot more wind, a lot more storm surge. So we'll take a view of this. It reminds me of when I lived in Kentucky. I went to college at Western Kentucky University. Go Hilltoppers. I think we have a couple of Hilltoppers in the chat room, by the way. And we used to go out in the country in the summer before the hay was in. The hay, it comes in, you bale it up, and you put it in a hay barn, square bales. And a hay barn doesn't have any walls, it just has a roof, because the hay needs to breathe a little because it can spontaneously catch on fire. Not a good thing. But at this time of year, there's only a little pile of hay bales in the middle, and it kind of makes a great place to sit a couple cases of beer and have a party. And that's what we were doing late night, one summer night. And off in the distance, there was this cloud, big, old, huge thunderhead. And the lightning was just crackling all up and down like veins in a big brain or a big monster. And that went on for about half an hour, which was pretty interesting. Getting close to midnight, we noticed there was another storm off in the distance, another thunderhead. And it was over a little ways to our left, and it was also, all this lightning coming out of it, licking out of its mouth and everything. And the storms began to come together. So, my friends and I, we were a rock band, so we're like, we don't have any equipment out there, we don't have any drums or anything, but what we're amazed by, because, we did a lot of outdoor concerts in those days, sometimes we'd have 10,000 watts. 10,000 watts is a lot of wattage for an outdoor concert. But try as we might, the sound doesn't go very far. It gets to about the end of the back seats, and then you can have a conversation. So we were always impressed by the power and the majesty of the storms. We weren't afraid of the lightning. We were under a metal roof in the middle of a hayfield. What could go wrong? Hey, we were drinking. So the two clouds began to come together. So we started telling this story about two giant, lightning beings, monsters marching across the horizon at one another. And sure enough, the two storms merged, and they were just shooting lightning one at the other, and it passed right over us. Now, the wind wasn't all that bad, but the lightning was horrific. There was no time delay between hearing the crack, and the boom, and the boom was just loud. And of course, every time it did it, well, we took a drink. So we probably shouldn't have driven after this, but I'm not going to admit anything. The point is, the storms were magnificent. So watching two storms together in the middle of the Gulf on a oil platform would be a hell of a ride, don't you think? Don't you think that'd be a great party? Talk about a hurricane party. Let's go watch tropical storms merge in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico and drink beer. Should be a lot of fun. Mona Lee says, there is no clamoring to move into Portland and Seattle. I reckon not. Real estate agents are picking crumbs with the sparrows in Seattle. That's for sure. That is for sure. So thank you, all the people in the chat room, rolling right along. Hey, we're getting close. We have 80 people watching now and 46 likes. I like that ratio a lot better than it was. Come on, you can reach over there and just pound that. It's good. All right. This is a good segment I call It Takes a Thief. It Takes a Thief. Hold on a second. I'm going to change my my screen here. Yeah, I'm the director too. I also do all the graphics and the screen, everything that you see there. The global syndicate is going to try to steal the 2020 election. Did I get your attention? If you're working for President Trump and you're out there, you're a staff member, your assignment is to listen to America Free Radio on Sunday nights. Find out what he's saying, because this is what's going to happen in the next week. Do I have your attention? Right here. Right here. Very good. And it can't be stolen. If it can't be stolen, the results of the general election are going to be thrown into serious doubt. Okay, this is a scenario I broke to you a couple of weeks ago. Alex Marlowe said, that's not going to happen, but I promise you. A couple of weeks ago, I shared this whole idea, and I think the global syndicate realized that Trump was unstoppable last year. They tried creating the Russia collusion hoax. They tried racism. They tried placing spies and tapping his phones and emails. They miscalculated that President Trump had been rehearsing and modeling his ideas and solutions for 30 years. Year after year, decade after decade, he ran experiments and financial and leadership inputs into his equations. When he came down the Trump Tower escalator, he pressed the enter key. The Trump economy was only part of the formula. The foreign policy included withdrawal from all wars, demanding NATO to pay up, and the Middle East to resolve a 2,000-year-old feud. But it was the Trump economical ideas that released the human engine, suppressed for a millennia by a dark and sinister force. It was something they had to stop. But how? Trump was energizing the entire planet. Dozens of countries were realizing record growth. It seemed nothing could stop it. As I predicted in my book Charm of Favor, very early in the story, a bomb plot begins forming. It is powerful, and it's aimed at the nation's power grid. I knew that once the syndicate got cornered, they would fight back. And once they realized that 87 years of planning, assassinations, theft, dark oaths were not good enough to win the 2016 election, they were exposed, and they might never recover unless they could stop Trump. Then the CCP released their virus. It was premature. It wasn't ready. It wasn't even that deadly. The base macrophage was common enough, but the novel part of the virus that allowed it to jump from the bat to the human mutated too quickly. They decided it was time to call up the OFA, the Organizing for Action. It's Barack Obama's political action committee that he started in 2013. And he mobilized the soldiers. Usually they would order up a school shooting. We're all familiar with that, right? But no school in session. So they ordered up a murder on TV. They had dozens to choose from, but what they really needed was a black man killed by a white cop. It was a very rare event, but it was only a matter of time, and they got their wish. They witnessed for months how the left has fomented chaos. We all have. Through Antifa and through Black Lives Matter movement, anyone with eyes can see these movements were not created for the purpose of equality or rights or even reparations. It's all about the chaos. It's all about the protests, the riots, the violence, the looting, and the destruction. And, of course, about the money. Nearly $2 billion has been funneled to rich white Democrats without a single dime going to care for black lives. Steve Bannon was arrested for spending some of the $25 million they raised in a GoFundMe account on some personal items, but BLM, they can spend hundreds of millions of dollars for Democrat ads and signs and never even so much as an eyebrow raised over it. To do so would be racist, right? Then there's the conspiratorial nonsense of Trump hauling away mailboxes by the truckload, causing yet more chaos. The fact that it happens all the time due to usage and changing demographics is mere coincidence. And by sheer happenstance, all this is leading up to a presidential election. It's all about the election, at least to start. Now comes the push for mail-in voting, something America has never attempted on a grand scale. Attempting to institute something like this will result in chaos on a national scale, a scale America has never experienced. It's just what the doctor ordered if the doctor is a radical leftist. In just one of dozens of organized and illegal efforts to manipulate elections. Hundreds of thousands of ballot applications were sent just in the state of Virginia by a leftist nonprofit organization called the Center for Voter Information. What a wonderful name. How do I know they're leftists? Well, I had to look no further than the money they raised and who they funneled it to. Every dime raised by this nonprofit has been spent to promote rich white Democrats, not a shilling toward Republicans. What a shocker. They sent out more than 500,000 forms to quote-unquote eligible voters. They weren't even registered. The Center for Voter Information said the absentee application mailings were sent to eligible voters in the state, and some of the mailers may have directed the return envelopes for the absentee applications to the wrong election offices. How about that? That is a powerful statement. It needs to be unpacked. Allow me to do that for you. First, the return mailers were addressed to the wrong election offices. I wonder where they might end up. Certainly not anywhere where they could be manipulated and then forwarded to the correct address. That's just conspiracy talk, right? Then there's the issue of to whom they were mailed. As it turns out, it was much worse than I originally suspected. I thought they were mailed to all registered voters, including foreign citizens who got driver's licenses and were thus registered to vote. They were mailed not only to registered voters, but to eligible voters. An eligible voter is just a citizen of legal voting age, presumably alive and human, whether currently registered to vote or not. All states offer absentee ballots for registered voters with a validating address and a signature. Now, 11 states, I could name them. If you want to know who they are, you can go to my website. Just simply go to americafreeradio.com. I will put the link right down here in the bottom. Go to that website. Right there on the front page is a red, white, and blue button that says vote. It's pretty simple, isn't it? VOTE, vote. Click that button, and it will immediately take you to the official page that lists all the states, your states included, I'm sure. And you could click on your state, and you can find out when your early voting starts, when your absentee ballots go out, what kind of election system your state has. I did that. 11 states have adopted cheat by mail and have no in-person early voting or any in-person voting at all. Some of them. Washington State, Hawaii, two that I can call off the top of my head. There are millions and millions of eligible voters who remain unregistered. Official statistics vary, but a conservative estimate calculated using the data from the U.S. Census Bureau's most recent voting and registration supplement indicates that 21.4% were not registered to vote in 2014. In 2016, there were no less than 71 million registered voters that did not cast a ballot. Between the two, the registered but didn't vote, and the unregistered, that's about 100 million potential mail-in votes. That's enough to swing or at least put any election in doubt. If there were any question as to why the left is pushing so hard for mail-in voting, there you have it. There should be no more to talk about. But there is. Already, we have seen, just on a small scale, that mail-in voting is fraught with problems. Lots of problems. Lost ballots, slow and missed counts, and worse, this new, untried, and untested system, it's ripe for fraud, like voter harvesting on a national scale. It would be a legal disaster, an absolute disaster. And what would happen if a foreign country, I'm not exactly sure who it might be, China, could actually counterfeit ballots, pre-voted ballots, by the millions, and they could stick them in shipping containers, and they could ship them here and dump them into our election system. You would not be able to tell the difference between a counterfeit ballot and a real ballot. Oh, they already have the list of all the eligible voters. They were fed that list. They didn't have to hack it. They were given the list. And you might say, oh, but what's going to happen when that's ballots RS. What's going to happen when those ballots hit our system? Well, they're going to get counted, I'm afraid. And your vote's not going to count because it's going to get washed out by 20 other people who never voted before in their life, don't care anything about voting, don't know anything about the election. But their ballot sure made it. Or, think about this, because I've already alerted the Trump administration. I've already talked about this. I've already sent the information. What if they catch the shipping container? What if they catch the shipping container in New York or Louisiana or LA or San Francisco or, pray tell, Seattle? What happens if they catch the shipping container? Of course, they're going to wonder, is this the only one? China attempted to hack, to meddle, to mess with, to change our election? Well, yeah, but maybe it wasn't the only ship container. Maybe there were more. Well, let's talk to someone on the West Coast that might have an idea about this. Mona, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Hello.
Hi.
Is this Brooks?
No, this is Brooks. This is the other personality of Brooks, the radio host Brooks.
This is Mona.
I know. What's on your mind?
Oh, you know this already. Well, we have the recall going of Kate Brown in Oregon.
Yay!
And we already have more than enough signatures. But some of the people that are volunteering to collect the signatures are being attacked physically.
Really?
It started with threats, and now it's turned into people getting beaten up badly. And I'm wondering, who do you suppose is doing the beating up, and who do you suppose might be paying them to do that?
Well, I would say the answer lies with the OFA, Organizing for Action. This is Barack Obama's militant organization. They now have over 52,000 paid soldiers nationwide. And I'll give you a little bit of the story of Kate Brown. Kate Brown isn't just a bad governor. I believe that she should be arrested, tried, and convicted for the premeditated murder or conspiracy to commit premeditated murder of Lavoy Finicum and the attempted murder of 5 other people in a moving vehicle. We watched it happen on film. It was Kate Brown that gave out those orders.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people agree. That's one of many reasons that they want her gone.
Mona, we got to take a quick break. I'm going to put you on hold for 3 minutes. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this. I want to talk to Mona a little bit more. X Squared Radio coming at you again at the top of the hour. We're coming live through the America Free Radio Studios through the Truth Frequency Radio Network, where the Truth Freaks hang out. And we're not afraid to let our Truth Freak flag fly. Be right back after this.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to tell you that we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/signup and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR Live, your uncensored and unregulated protection from deception.
The FDA approves another treatment. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. President Trump announcing that the FDA has issued an emergency authorization of convalescent plasma for COVID-19 patients. The blood plasma is taken from patients who have recovered from the virus. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar.
The data we gathered suggests that patients who were treated early in their disease course, within 3 days of being diagnosed, with plasma containing high levels of antibodies, benefited the most from treatment.
Azar says those treated had about a 35% higher survival rates. The Republican National Convention kicks off Monday.
Even though the GOP convention has some events happening at the White House, like First Lady Melania Trump's speech on Tuesday and President Trump's acceptance speech on Thursday, RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel says the party is picking up the tab, not the White House. The convention will feature a roster of Republican stars, but also some non-politicians too. Criminal justice advocate Alice Johnson, Covington High Schooler Nick Sandman, and the St. Louis couple that faced off with protesters Mark and Patricia McCloskey.
Fox's Hillary Vaughn. People in coastal Louisiana are making preparations for the expected landfall of Hurricane Marco and then Tropical Storm Laura 2 days later, which is also expected to be a hurricane.
Louisiana's Governor John Bell Edwards warning Louisiana prepare for an unprecedented event. Back-to-back hurricanes. Hurricane Marco expected to make landfall here in southeastern Louisiana as early as overnight. And then Tropical Storm Laura is expected to strengthen and hit this state on Wednesday.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Takuma Sato snatched his second Indianapolis 500 victory today as the Japanese racer held off Scott Dixon and ultimately won under caution. America is listening to Fox News.
Into the truth frequency. Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back. Second hour of America Free Radio coming to you live through the Truth Frequency Radio Network. We're also live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Twitch. So if you are a frequenter of any of those platforms, you can pick us up right now live. Wanted to tell you really quick, this next week, starting on Tuesday, the conference Meet the Venusians is going to take place in Mount Shasta. I will be there. You should be there. If you're within driving distance, come on down and see me. We'll get a book signed. We'll go to dinner. It'll be a good time. Just make sure to be there. I really would like to meet you and have a good conversation about some of this stuff. All right. Before I go back to Mona, a couple of questions in the chat room. Brett asked a question. What's up with Trump taking control of the Federal Reserve? Your opinion? That's really a whole segment, Brett, but I will tell you that very slowly and carefully, as part of Trump's original formula that he developed 30 years ago and ran scenarios on it over and over and over and over again over the years. We heard him talk about it lots and lots over the decades. He began putting board members into the Federal Reserve until he reached critical mass. That happened about 4 months ago. So he began merging the Federal Reserve with the U.S. Treasury. This is a good thing. It's a good thing. It means that the U.S. Treasury will return to setting monetary policy. The dollar right now is so strong around the world that it is the reserve currency. There is no talk whatsoever about SDRs. That's the strategic drawing rights bond that's being set up by the World Bank. There's no talk of euros or yuan or any other currency out there walking the dog. It's the dollar, baby. That's what's happening. And that's all because of the America First policy that has been put forward. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Mona back on the phone, and I want to finish this conversation about what's going on with Governor Brown in Oregon, because there's a lot of upheaval out there, and ostensibly violence. Let's just call it what it is: brown shirt violence that's being organized by opposition parties on a ground level. We talk about a ground game. This is a ground game. But instead of going door to door, they're going protest to protest. And they're finding these people that are going door to door, getting these signatures to remove Kate Brown, to recall and remove Kate Brown from office, which she needed to be gone a long time ago, way back when the Malheur Reserve debacle happened and Lavoy Finicum was gunned down in cold blood, shot in the back, unarmed by her mercenaries. She should have been removed from office right then. Now they're putting the signatures together, but you're saying that the workers that are going out gathering the signatures are being assaulted. We don't hear about that out here. Can you share with us some of the news of what's going on out there?
Well, I can, because I've been working with some of the people that are doing that, and I went today down to a signing location because they put them up in shopping centers and other areas around Oregon. And I went down to talk to one of the women that I know, and she was telling me that they started out just being threatened on the... She didn't talk to me about people going door to door. She was talking about people who set up those little, tables and booths so that people can come and sign them in the shopping centers. And she said that one observer started picking on a woman, started bullying a woman that was standing in line waiting to sign. And another man came to her aid to support her and say, don't be rude. If you don't want to sign, then you shouldn't be here. And the man who had started the problems beat the other man up. He ended up in the hospital. He has multiple injuries. He was badly injured.
Wow.
So that's just one. That's one that just happened within about the last 24 to 36 hours.
Well, this is exactly the kind of activity that Hitler's brown shirts used prior to World War II. As Hitler was climbing in power, what he did is he released criminals from jail. Not like we're doing that, are we? Yeah, I guess we are. We released criminals from jail, and then we assigned them. You need to go down to this neighborhood and cause trouble. You need to go break windows. You need to go set cars on fire. And they're happy to do it. They're out of jail. They're already bad people. So, yeah, this is exactly the same technique and procedures that have been used in times past by the same people, I'm afraid.
It probably is the same people. The bullying is so bad online. And I'm wondering, are those people also paid? For instance, Mr. Bruce Tomaszewski on the chat today, after I said something that apparently he didn't agree with, said Mona is an old mnemonic. Now, Brooks, you know perfectly well why I have the voice that I have. My father had a very deep baritone voice and was a singer and an actor, and I have used my voice my entire life to make my living, a very good living. And I don't just sing. I also do videos and give speeches and talks and so forth. But to come online and call someone a name because you don't like the sound of their voice, that isn't the point. The point is that they come in and try to insult and humiliate people as if that's some way that the American election is supposed to work.
Yeah.
And this is what these people are being taught to do by the OFA and the BLM and all these other people. They're not bringing up anything of value. They're not telling you why you should vote for Biden or Miss on her knees to get to the top person. I don't even remember her name. They don't give you a reason to vote for a good person. They just attack people for having a different political opinion. And they've been taught to do this by the OFA. But what I'd like to know is, how are they paying these people?
Well,
like
that's a good
people
question.
that are going out and causing the problems.
When the OFA was formed in 2013, by the way, President Obama was still president at the time, and some of his own party came to him and said, look, this really doesn't look good that you actually control this political action committee. You know, we threw Newt Gingrich out of office for doing that, for just talking about it on the phone. He didn't really do it. He talked about it. So he ended up calling one of his sycophants to actually run the organization. But as soon as he was out of office, I remember him being interviewed over this. They asked him about OFA. Excuse me. And he said, well, it's fully funded. And they didn't follow up on the question. I would have said, wait a minute, how is it fully funded? Don't you have to go out and do fundraisers? Don't you have to do solicitations? How is it fully funded? Well, turns out the initial slug of money, which was a good amount of money, several tens of millions of dollars, came from George Soros. So this is a Soros-funded organization, and it is militant. It started out with 30,000 paid activists around the country, and they distributed them into areas where they could do the most good. But since then, they've added over 25,000 more. They now have over 55,000 paid activists around the country. That's a big corporation by any standard. So the money comes from organizations like Black Lives Matter. When people donate to Black Lives Matter, that money is laundered. It's laundered through an organization called Act Blue. And that money is laundered to the OFA and to other organizations to elect rich white Democrats. So that's where the money's coming from. And they're not paid a small amount of money. Some of these people are paid $15, $18 an hour plus expenses. We know this because the federal law enforcement has been tracking these people from Tulsa to Minneapolis to Detroit to Seattle to Portland, and they're very quietly moving in, and they can track these people by their phones. And as soon as they get them separated a little bit from the crowd, they arrest them, put them into an unmarked vehicle, whisk them away, arraign them, charge them, and set a court date, and then release them. It takes about 2 hours. But now they're in the system. They're mugshotted, they're fingerprinted, their DNA is sampled, their phone records are copied, and then they're released. And if they don't show up for court, it's going to be a bad day for them, a very bad day. When that warrant is issued, they're going to start picking them up right and left. We've already seen some of the videos on Facebook where individuals have put these arrests where the cops have come with a warrant to arrest the people. And, of course, they resist arrest. They get tased into the hedges and then thrown into a car, and off they go because they don't go to their court date. It's coming. Justice is coming, well, Mona.
I know someone who works for this organization, and all of their rent is paid. They don't have to work at a job.
Wow.
They go out and they do these things. Their rent is paid. The food is paid. They get given money. How does this happen without someone figuring out who's doing it?
Well, that's what we're here for.
Where are the taxes?
That's why America Free Radio and others are out there talking about this, because the people need to know. This isn't organic. These people aren't going out there with shields and body armor and pepper spray and lasers and fireworks that have nails taped to them. This isn't organic. We've heard some of the video, and some of the people that I know who have been in various campaigns have written me and said, hey, I hear Chinese. I hear people speaking in Chinese in these black uniforms. One guy wrote me and said, I hear people talking in Farsi. They're Middle Eastern people in these uniforms out there fighting for OFA. This is where Al-Qaeda came from. This is where ISIS came from. These paid insurgents who are not afraid to kill.
No, apparently they're not. They also lit a house on fire. This is really heinous. They lit a house on fire in front of the doorways that people would use to get out of the house, and then they used their vehicles to block the street that the fire department would need to travel on that street to get to that house to put the fire out, knowing that there were children inside of the house. When the fire chief was talking about it on the press, he started to cry. He had to step back away from the microphone and regroup. He couldn't speak, thinking about what they had to go through to try to get to these people, to get the children out of the house. Now, why aren't we seeing that stuff in the news?
Well, it gets suppressed. The fake stream news, actually, we now are the mainstream news. Me and others like me, X22 and Red Pill and RDoc, we're now the mainstream news. We are the ones reaching the people. When I call in to Breitbart Radio and I talk to Alex Marlowe, it's the biggest audience in the country. It's the biggest audience in the country. We are the mainstream news now. You think Breitbart gets searched out on Google? No. Completely blocked on Google. If you put a search term in, like, hey, I want to find out what's going on in Portland today, you'll see no Breitbart stories at all in Google. None. Because they are completely blocked out. This is a war that's going on. It's a war.
You have to use Dogpile.com and some of the other ones who don't block those things out.
Right.
I did have one other question.
Sure.
And that is that a lot of people believe that we're going to see war in the streets, people shooting at each other. I mean on a mass level, not just what we're seeing in these few cases. Do you see that?
No, that's also why we're here. And the last hour tonight, please hang around for then. I have a message of hope. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to stop it well before it gets to that point. I know that we talk about this, but I can tell you the most feared force on the planet is the armed American. And if we were the problem, you would already know about it. This isn't going to happen.
That's true.
You're going to see
And I love you, Brooks. Love you, Brooks. Love you, Boo. I know a lot of other people want to get their questions in, so I'll let you go, but thanks so much.
Thank you very much, and don't be afraid to call again. That's one of my longtime friends out on the West Coast. Okay, we got one other caller. Let's see. This is line 4. Let's go ahead and bring in Is it Milwaukee? Yes, Milwaukee. Welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brooks.
Hi.
This is Warrior. I am calling because I'm very, very concerned with President Trump's announcement today that they're going to use plasma. My biggest concern is that they are using this plasma, and most people who donate plasma are druggies and things like that. So I guess I'm not following where his logic is on that.
Well, plasma is a very discriminating process. You're correct. There are people that sell their plasma for money. I know people that do this on a fairly regular basis. It sells for about $20 to $40, and it can help you eat for the next week. And you're right. There is a big problem with drug use and with AIDS and syphilis and other kinds of things. It is not the plasma that's being transferred to the next person. This stuff is spun down, and what they're doing is extracting the antibodies. They're specifically precipitating out the antibodies. And I actually like the idea because they're not artificial. They're human-made. Our immune system is the most sophisticated thing on the planet. I mean, you think a billy goat can eat anything? Our immune system allows us to walk through an ocean of microbes and viruses every single day without any harm coming to us, because it is a multi-staged, magnificent immune system. And when it makes an antibody, it can protect us for 100 years. So I think.
So how do they know though? How do they
ahead.
know if you've already got the antibody? I know they have the antibody tests out there, but I don't trust those either.
Yeah, there's a blood test for the antibodies. There's no quick test for it. I have been offered to have the test early on. This was about 4 or 5 months ago. They offered it to me, but it was $150, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to give up $150 just to have them draw my plasma to find out if I had the antibodies or not. I had this nasty ass bug back in January, and I beat it on my own with natural remedies. So I'm immune, and I know a lot of people that are. My son's immune now. He had it. Several of my friends had it and walked away from it. They're all immune. They don't even get a sniffle. What is that?
I had it in March. It was 6 weeks of misery, but yeah.
Yeah, and it can be, because it's not necessarily the virus. It's the symptoms. It's the mucus and the coughing and all of the histamine reactions that your body goes through. But you can take vitamin C, zinc, there's HCQ, different things you can take to help the histamine reaction not overreact. Your body can fight off the virus fine by itself. But it's the other things. It's the pneumonia that can kick in. It's the staph infections that can kick in. These can kill you. And it's not very easily fought off. And when you're my age, pneumonia is a big concern. Once you've lived so many decades, your lungs are not the same as they were when you were a kid. They don't bounce back very quickly. They get scarred, and different things from infections and colds and flu that you've had over your life. So if you get pneumonia as an adult, you can die quickly. Like in 2 or 3 days, you're gone. And pneumonia occurs only when the lungs fill up with mucus, because it's an anaerobic bacteria. It doesn't grow when you can draw full breath. If you can't draw full breath, or if you lay down at night and you're coughing for half an hour because of the mucus that's spilling up toward your esophagus, you can develop pneumonia very quickly. And you'll know it because it's.
I had pneumonia when I was 42, so it's miserable. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I also have an associate who worked not with me, but at the same plant as me. He died from it, and he's younger than I am. And he was not treated with HCQ, and I was mad about it. I asked his wife, why didn't you let him take the HCQ? He could have beaten this, and he'd still be around. And she said she didn't know about it. The doctors didn't know about it, and it was just, when you're under that kind of stress, you just don't think clearly. And he passed away, and it's tragic. It is tragic. I actually thought President Trump would come out tonight and say that HCQ in small doses, like say 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams, is now going to be over the counter, just like Prilosec. So if you get heartburn, you take Prilosec, you whip it, and your stomach can actually heal. So you can HCQ, well, not HCQ, but quinine is a naturally occurring product in nature. But the HCQ is an artificial version. It's more concentrated, but it's been sold for 60 freaking years around the world. And it's the reason why a lot of people have beat this disease. So I'm really mad that the Democrats have forced governors, 24 of them, to slow this up for the specific purpose of having dead people to bolster their political agenda. It makes me mad.
Well, and the other thing I was wondering too is where do you get over-the-counter zinc and vitamin C? It's all made in China, so I don't even know where to buy it anymore.
Yeah, well, the vitamin C that you get at Walmart is probably all made in China, but there are health food stores around that sell vitamin C from other sources, rose hips and what is the one? It's called Citrical. That's made in the U.S. This kind of stuff can be assimilated very well, but to beat this virus, if you catch it early on, You need to take 1,000 milligrams at a time and take it like 5 times a day. We're talking 5 or 6 grams. You can't eat enough oranges to get that kind of vitamin C. You have to take the vitamin C. That licks it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Love you and love your chat. It's the best.
Thank
love
you.
you.
Thank you so much. All right, we got another call. We got about 3 minutes left. Let's go ahead and bring this other phone call on. Line 5 out of Midland, Michigan. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, Brooks.
Hi.
Andy here. I got a quick question or a statement or whatever. Today I was playing in the garden and it just occurred to me. I believe in Michigan, if you steal between $500 and $1,000, it becomes a felony. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the Trump store or the Trump donation or whatever, if they had a $501 donation, you could get a red Trump hat. Would that make my $20 Trump hat worth $500 to where is if you stole it or if you took my Trump hat, would that be a felony?
Oh, that's a very good question. Because, you know, the hats now, the official hats have under here, this part is green. If your hat is red underneath here, like you have a MAGA hat or whatever hat, and it's not green, it is not an official hat. So it has to be green. And then on the left side in here, there is an American flag. And that's how you know it's made in America. That's a very good question. So you give a $500 donation, and in exchange, you get a MAGA hat or a Trump 45 hat or a CAG 2020 hat. And somebody steals that hat. Is that a felony? I would probably say not, but it would really make me mad even if it was a $20 hat. People shouldn't steal.
Right. Well, I was just curious if your $500 hat would make my $20 hat worth $500 as far as
it would be great.
You know what I mean?
It would be great. 10 years in jail for stealing a MAGA hat. I think it's
yeah. That's what I like.
So you're in Midland.
Right.
Tell me what's going on up there, because for some crazy reason, I have no idea how, Rashida Tlaib won her primary. What the hell is going on in Michigan?
Voter fraud, I think.
Yeah, it has to be, because is there ever a more offensive? You know, her name should be Rashida Nails on Blackboard Tlaib.
Yeah, there's not a lot of mask wearing going on. I don't know, maybe 50%.
Wow. Well, I've done a lot of work in Michigan.
I made my own mask to wear. When I had to, it says 666 Mask of the Beast.
Interesting. You know, there was a guy who's a frequent flyer, a platinum frequent flyer, who got thrown out of first class for wearing a Trump 2020 mask on the airplane.
Yeah.
They threw him off the plane. Wow, that's just crazy.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
All right. I appreciate your phone call, my friend. Thank you very much. Don't be afraid to call back anytime. You know, Monday morning, a lot of things are going to happen. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
Discover the extraordinary powers of intuitive healing with pain transmutation, a method of holistic healing for the human soul, body, mind, and emotions. If you are looking for answers and a deep understanding of how to help yourself and the people around you to live a happier, healthier life, this is the right place for you. Learn how to read your soul's history in the Akashic Records. remove negative energy attachments from your astral body, and start the process of inner and outer pain transmutation. Join Pain Transmutation Community to get started on the path of intuitive healing. Change your energetic state, manifest new and exciting experiences, re-energize your life, and build inspiring connections with others in our community.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you have hard water, the Lime Scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate Lime Scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death. This is Uncle Walt from the Ironworks. Josh, Corey, and I have chosen to look at life with no fear. No fear of the unknown. No fear of questions about the supposedly well-known. No fear of ridicule for thinking outside the familiar fool's lines. No fear of the boot on the neck of those refusing the party line. No fear of taking on those so convinced of their beliefs they would sooner drink the Kool-Aid than believe they've been fools made. In this world filled with me too, cattle think, can truth's protective layers be peeled back to show the tender, juicy pink? Are we all just grist for the mill? Souls sold against our will, or is that just how it feels? When you're filled to the rim with trivialities so fear-filled and grim, break clear of the fear right here. Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 a.m. on TFR. Josh and I and you will hammer out the impurities of technology-driven groupthink, fold in a dash of logic, and quench it all with a bit of absurdity. The Ironworks. Break clear of the fear.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
I've been waiting for this moment since my first breath in. Never would have thought I'd be afraid to begin, but here I am, the edge of the water, wondering if I can swim. Never seem to notice all the days pass through, but in this final moment I'm still chasing the truth. I want an explanation why I can't stay here forever in my youth. And if I will you wait for me forever, or would it be wrong to ask you to come with? Tell me, will you wait?
So good that you're here with me tonight. I couldn't think of a better place to be. By the way, Greenheart, thanks for being in the chat room. Yes, I heard about the 40-meter asteroid, and I'm going to talk about that right after this. If you bought one of my books from Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or you have one that's not autographed, I have a fix for you. An autograph card. Yes, it says The Present from the Future. And you'll notice right here, it has a little signature block. And what I'm going to do when you order this, I'm going to sign this to you. It has adhesive on the back of it. So when you get it, you can just stick it in the cover of your book and you have an autographed copy. Isn't that cool? And these are free. Just shipping and handling. Just go to my website at the store, brooksagnew.com, at the store, and you can pick that up. And one other thing, and this is pretty cool too. It is a wristband. Let's see if I can get it situated just correctly here. The wristband also says The Present from the Future. Yes, so it's a wristband, And these are also available from the store. Now, obviously, if you see me at a conference, you're going to get the real signature and a wristband, and it'll be a great experience. So I've got a bunch of these there at the store, and you can pick them up just to show a little solidarity with the program as we grow. And don't forget to share with your friends and hit that notification button so you'll be here next time. And there were a couple of questions in the chat room I wanted to address really quickly. By the way, thank you very much, Warrior, for the phone call. You did very well. No problem at all. Your voice came across very good. Very well, I should say. Many people speak English, but they don't master English. We're masters here at this program. And there are a list of things. I know Greenheart's talking about bring the troops home and, distribute the troops once, a 1 month supply of HCQ to everyone made by Kodak. I totally agree. Mail-in blockchain voter ID. I like that idea too. Way better than the mail-in votes. But if you're listening, President Trump, or your staff, or Alex, if you're listening tonight wondering what you're going to talk about tomorrow on your program at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, consider this. Consider you only have about a week, maybe 2. That's it. The primaries are going to be done. We're going to know everyone who is a nominee on the ballot. And that means that the mail-in ballot can be pushed. Now, if you go to my website, AmericaFreeRadio.com, right there on the front page is the vote button, a red, white, and blue vote button. If you go there, you can know what I know, which is when to go vote early, in person, in my state. But you can't do that in Hawaii. Hawaii recently, in their radical leftist mania, has switched over completely to cheat by mail. They're going to be mailing ballots to everybody on the island that's over the age of 18 years old. And wait a minute, I got another donation. I didn't see it. Let me see if I can scroll back up because I tried to acknowledge these. I got a $5 donation, and I'm trying to figure out who it came from. Well, I have to appeal to my staff. I can see it, but I don't know who it came from. So hang on a second. Let me scroll down. Maybe it's down instead of up. We have a lot of people in the chat room. And I don't see it. Oh, there it is. It's Boo. She gave it. How about the Matrix explanation? Oh, yes. That's a good explanation. Let me finish this. Monday morning of this last week, I told Alex Marlow, chief editor of Breitbart News, about my suspicion about what's going to happen with the mail-in ballots, the cheat by mail, and that President Trump should enact an executive order, which I call the Federal Election Protection Act. It's very simple. It only has 5 words. Vote in person with ID. That's it. Now, he said that's not going to happen. But Friday morning, Trump stated in a news conference that the world would not know the results of the presidential election on November 3rd. We would not know in a week. We might not know in 4 weeks. In fact, I believe the results will be so suspected by everyone that Democrats will sue for years to keep Trump out of the White House. Although they will in fact have cheated by mail, the global media empire will convince the world that it was Trump who cheated. Their Antifa and BLM armies will follow orders and ramp up the violence to keep the tension high. On January 20th, the Speaker of the House will become the acting president until the election can be done again to determine who is president. Now, the 20th Amendment, my staff and I have been thinking about this a lot. When the amendment was drafted and ratified, it was to address an anomaly. It was passed in 1789, and then it was revised in 1992 to address the lame duck situation. In other words, when a president is nearing the end of his final term, the election becomes critical. If there are a bunch of parties and no one gets 50% of the electors, then continuity of government had to be assured. In 1947, the 22nd Amendment was passed because Roosevelt stole the 1940 election, and the country let him do it. He died in his 4th term. Truman took over, dropped 2 atom bombs on Japan not to end the war, but to hold the world at bay. But that's another story. The point is that the 20th Amendment was designed to prevent the country from having no president. This is the powerful thing we came up with. Trump is not a lame duck. He has another term. But the Democrats don't want him to have a second term. So they are trying to set it up. They are priming everyone to reject his second term. One of my roommates expressed anger about Trump not leaving office if he loses. I mean it. Anger. But here's the deal. Trump is not going to lose. It's just that Trump may not win. He may not get 270 electors because there are 11 states that have contracted with a George Soros-funded nonprofit called Common Cause. This week, they also switched, without even the voters' consent, to cheat by mail. It never went on the ballot. How could they do that, you ask? COVID. Their national marketing team coordinated with 11 governors to order statewide mask mandates. They did it here in our own state. They made people afraid of the infection. They made them so afraid that the state legislators could make the contract without the voters' approval. After all, what voters would allow the state to toss out their vote and replace it with a national vote? No one would. But this gets complex, so stay with me. The 20th Amendment is set up to utilize the Speaker of the 2021 House of Representatives. Okay? That's not 2020, that's 2021. No problem, you say. It will be the 2021 House. Well, remember, the Chinese are sending counterfeit ballots. That means the counterfeit votes will not only cover the president, they will cover the House as well. The Democrats will win the House and the Senate. Now you see the plan. Chaos has been bought and sold by the Democrats. State by state, they bought control of the country. If you're listening, Mr. President, and I'm sure that your staff is listening, there is a way to stop it, but you must act swiftly. You must enact an executive order to require the states to vote in person with ID as a matter of national security. Catch the Chinese ballots at the port of entry when they arrive in 3 weeks. You got to act now, or all is lost, I am afraid. So, a lot of people saw the movie The Matrix. And then the remake and the series of all of them until you got to the end, right? You know who Neo is, you know what the White Rabbit is, you know what Morpheus is, right? Well, guess what? Not everybody knows that. There were people that saw the movie and didn't get it. They don't understand what the Matrix is. In fact, the whole idea of red pill escaped them for a long time. That's where red pill came from. The idea of the Matrix is that we all, in this avatar called the human body, that we're linked into a matrix called the third dimension, that we're being used, our whole lifetime is being used to feed a global machine. The global machine feeds off of us. Everything that we produce, a slice of that goes to them. They're using us for energy. And in exchange, they have created for us an environment that we live in. And there are lots of parts to it that we don't control and we don't understand. One of them is the credit bureau. Nobody understands the credit bureau. You have a slave score that's assigned to you based on your obedience to stay in debt. Not too much, but certainly not at all. You have to be in debt. You have to have the right debt instruments. You got to have a few credit cards. You got to have a car loan. You got to have a house loan. And all these things have to be paid on time. If you get all this done and you have enough income left over and you've been on the job long enough and you're not divorced and you haven't had a DUI or an arrest, you have an excellent slave score. We know all about this. China knows all about this. They call it the social score. Of course, they watch a lot more. They watch the expression on your face. They watch who you friend on Facebook and who you tweet to. They watch all that stuff. If the credit bureau were to become totally empowered to where they knew the movies that you watch, the books that you read, the miles that you drive, the bars that you go to, they know the people that you date and their credit scores, then they would have a total social score on you as well. And who's to say they don't? Because nobody I know can explain the credit score. If you make all your payments on time and you make plenty of money, you should have an 850, right? But you don't. You have a 719, you have a 725, you have a 750. Why? You have no idea. And God forbid you make enough money to pay all those credit cards off and you say, you know what? I don't need credit cards anymore. I don't need to ever buy anything on time. I have money in the bank and I don't want much, but when I want something, I just go buy it. I go to the store and go shopping and I don't even look at the receipt. Well, how much was that bread? I don't know. How much was your grocery bill this week? Beats me. I don't care. I never look at the receipt. I buy what I want to eat. I eat what I buy. I don't throw much away. I don't even look at it. Why? Because I live within my means. I make enough money. I'm debt free. And that makes me a hiss and a byword to the credit bureau. Oh, they penalize me. I didn't miss a payment for 25 years. 25 years. That's like showing up to work on time and never missing a day at work. Very valuable. The most valuable. I had I-1 all the way across. R1 all the way across for 25 years. And then I got to where I made enough money. I didn't need debt anymore. So I got out of debt. I paid all my debts off and I stayed out of debt. I'm the pinnacle of achievement. But I'm now no longer part of the matrix. So I'm penalized. That little place in the back of my neck, you know, where the probe is stuck into the center of your brain, where they feed you just enough challenge that you feel like you're struggling, but just enough reward where you keep going to next payday or the next vacation, or you just trudge forward to retirement. Oh, wait till I get to retirement, then I'm going to start living. I work with a guy just like that. Just like that. He says, you know, when I'm at work, I think, you know, when I get home, I'm going to work in the garden. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I got some stuff I want to do in the garden. And then I get home and I'm just so tired. I just want to drink a beer and kick the recliner back and turn the TV on. And next thing you know, I got to get up to go to bed. He retires in about 21 months. He's trying to diet. He's trying to keep himself decently in shape. Not really, but I mean, at least he's not falling down. But he says, I got plans. He's in the matrix. He's not going to start living for 21 months. But here's the problem. His battery's going to be all used up. By the time he retires and walks up that hill to the parking lot that last Friday before he retires, he will never have the strength to do it again. He's going to be in that recliner until he dies. That's the matrix. I'm telling you this because that's the story. The third dimension has created for you a life which you think is keeping you satisfied. But how many of you have reached the age of 40 or 50 or 60 and you still haven't done what you really wanted to do? If you're in that position, I have a class for you. I think you need to take it. It's my master class on manifestation. If you're there, you've already done everything you have to do. And now it's time to do what you want to do. And I don't care if you're 50. I don't care if you're 60. It's never too late. I didn't write my first book. I didn't go to my first conference until I was 52 years old. And I've been all over the world since then. I've written 11 books, 7 bestsellers. My life began all over again at age 52. I promise you, it's just there. All you have to do is pull that cord out of the back of your head, take a class, so you know what it's like out here in real life. Just do it with me. Just do it with me. I promise it's the best $47 you ever spent on yourself. So I want to get this out because there's a lot of negativity going on. And I want to make sure that everything is not all negative. So let me go ahead and take this caller from Roanoke, Virginia, and then we'll get into it. Roanoke, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mr. Agnew.
Hi.
Hi. It's nice to be on the caller show tonight. This is great. I've never really called into something like this, but I'm probably one of your younger supporters. I'm 25 and I'm from Roanoke, Virginia, and just now reading about this the vaccine mandate, and I really haven't looked too much into it because I just discovered it, but I wanted to get thoughts on that. I heard California is considering on doing a mandate as well for the vaccines. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think that's going to play out? Because I don't see a lot of people going along with that. I know I'm not.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're alone, but I also don't think you're in the majority. There are a lot of people who are not going to take the vaccine. They don't think the virus is that bad. They think if they do get it, they'll lick it, develop their own antibodies, and then forget about it. I'm not going to get sick for another 5 years. But there is a governing body that believes that if, sort of like the mask mandate, I went to the mall yesterday because I had to do a little shopping. I'd been there about 3 weeks ago, and about half the people had masks and half the people didn't, and the mall was kind of making these announcements over, we're going to empty the mall at 6 o'clock, go home, you know, all that stuff. But this time when I went, there were signs everywhere. The stores that were open had these mask mandates and arrows on the floor. You got to come in this way and go out this way and stay 6 feet apart, and you must wear.
Have you been into Sheetz? I mean, Sheetz has like their own, you know, with their logo on it. The 6 feet when you're standing in line, it's like the stickers are set up. Oh my Lord!
Yeah,
it's hard to go out. I'm not gonna lie. It is hard. I haven't been out much. Recently, transmission on my car just gave out, and I really haven't been out much. I have not. I think I've worn a mask once, and it's not to be. It's just weird, you know. And I think I've heard you mention it, and a lot of others that is hiding that much of your face. That is your emotion.
Yeah,
that's so much.
That's how we communicate.
Hidden.
It's how we communicate.
And on top of that, with the stigma, the social stigma, everyone's just kind of like when you're out in public shopping or whatever, just rush, go get what you need and leave. And it's so tense all the time. But I think, you know, a lot of people know it's something, they know the background truth that the media is not, you know, portraying. And I can feel it kind of, you know, it's a weird feeling and a weird stigma.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get us used to life underneath the boot wearing the mask, because really it's a form of solitary confinement. And then when they'll say, well, we're going to give you freedom, but you have to take the vaccine. And you have to prove that you've had the vaccine. And if you haven't had the vaccine, you're not going to be allowed in our establishment. That's coming.
Right. The COVID pass. It's going to be, that's what I've been reading about. It's kind of like show your verification that you've had the vaccine. And
yeah, well, see, that's where enterprising people like me are going to go into business.
Worried, but I also, if you have time, I know you have other callers, but if you have time, I wanted to touch on one more thing.
Sure.
Do you think, this is just a background thought that's kind of I've just been thinking about a lot. I feel like there is going to be, especially near the election and after the election, we could be in an all-out war almost. I feel like in some communities, I feel like Portland is kind of a test zone for that right now. And after the election, a lot of areas could get like that because no matter, I think you've touched on this too, no matter who wins, there's going to be an uproar. And I'm a little worried about that too. But you know, I live in a little town of Roanoke and Virginia, and it's pretty calm here. People are pretty well put together. We don't have a whole lot of radicals, but you know, I'm worried for the country, you know, as far as that goes. And what do you think is going to happen after the election and building up to it?
Well, that's a very good question. It's a big question. There's three things that could happen. Number one is Trump could win overwhelmingly. He could get 320 electoral votes. And if that happens, then of course there's going to be some unrest, but it's going to be in isolated areas only. The second thing that can happen is that people could reject President Trump and say, please give us the blue pill. We just want to go back to sleep. And we want to be the poor, dumb, unemployed country that we were before. and that could happen. That could happen. But I think more than likely it's the third choice. And the third choice is just like what President Trump said and what I alluded to a couple of weeks ago. It gets thrown into chaos, kind of like the hanging chads in Florida. We don't really have an election because we don't really know who's president, because there are thousands of attorneys on both sides, all poised, paid, retained, ready to go to sue the other side. And so this is going to be a civil war in the courts first. There may be unrest in the streets, but I don't think it's going to get much more than what it is right now. We have pockets of resistance here and there, and that's largely because BLM needs to raise money. They need to raise a lot of money. Right now they've raised about $2 billion, and all of that money has gone to pay for rich white Democrats to run for office and to pay for riots and violence and stuff like that. But all that's going to come to an end with the RICO Act and with a couple of executive orders. BLM's going to be gutted. They're going to be out. Same thing with Antifa. Their money is going to be cut off. Trump is already cutting off the human trafficking. He's cutting off the flow of drugs. He's cut off the flow of money from the Middle East. So the only way that they have to raise money now are these violent protesters basically extorting money out of the black community. But the black community they're wising up.
Outside philanthropists.
Yeah.
You know, outside philanthropy. I mean, we all know George.
And that money's being tracked. That money's being tracked, and it's going to be stopped. So I don't think the Civil War is going to occur in the streets. I think the Civil War is going to occur inside the Democrat Party. That's where the Civil War is going to take place.
Right. And this kind of goes back to reading of, I'm sure you've heard of it, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. This is kind of playing out within that. I don't know if you've ever read into that, but it's kind of like the silent war that goes on in the background. It's not the classic,
right.
Guns and wars and stuff, but silent war kind of in the background. But sorry for taking so much time, but I really appreciate your show, and you make my Wednesday and Sunday nights, man. I love just sitting
awesome.
down and listening.
You just made my weekend.
This is like the Earth update when I watch it.
All right. Quick break. We'll be right back.
Truth Frequency Radio is your number one source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like Beyond the Veil with Chris and Cherie Geo, X Squared with Brooks Agnew, Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas, Jaronism Raw with Jaron and Missa, Fearless with Frank Castle, Strange World with Mark Sargent, The Eye of Ra with Ra Castaldo, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray, Ironworks with Josh Corey, The Kev Baker Show, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR-LIVE. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio. Deception.
Unprecedented storms. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Louisiana and part of the Texas Gulf Coast getting set for 2 hurricanes within a couple days. The first time that's happened in recent history. Hurricane Marco set to hit sometime tomorrow, followed by Tropical Storm Laura.
It's still entirely possible these run over the exact same spot, and that would cause a whole lot of headaches, additional water, additional flooding. Right now, we're looking at this initial storm bringing heavy rain into the New Orleans area. The second storm bringing some of that heavier rain a little farther off to the west.
Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz. High winds and dry lightning storms are forecast through Monday for Northern California, where 3 massive wildfires roared through parched landscape.
Fires from the LNU Lightning Complex in Napa, Sonoma, and other nearby counties have scorched more than 341,000 acres. It's now the second largest fire in the state's recorded history. And the SCU Lightning Complex fire in Santa Clara, Alameda, and other nearby counties is now the 3rd largest in the state's history. 6 people have died from the fires. Tens of thousands of people have been forced to evacuate statewide.
Fox's Christina Coleman. Takuma Sato took the checkered flag in the Indy 500 after it had been delayed for several months because of the pandemic. Scott Dixon came in 2nd place and Graham Rahal finished 3rd. And in NASCAR, Kevin Harvick won the Dryden 311 at Dover International Speedway in Delaware.
Harvick out front, Truex running 2nd. Jimmy Johnson trying to hold on to 3rd after pit strategy. Just a 2-tire stop. Put him up front. Kevin Harvick is going to win. He sweeps.
The call courtesy of NBC Sports. Martin Truex Jr. came in 2nd place and Jimmy Johnson finished 3rd. America is listening to Fox News.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Welcome back. Final hour, X Squared Radio tonight. By the way, Warrior Biatch out there, thank you for the generous contribution tonight. Very, very helpful. Says, love you, Brooks. Great show. I appreciate that more than you know. And isn't that great to have a 25-year-old listener in Roanoke, Virginia? Outstanding. What a bright young man. I tell you, I just have such hope for America when I hear individuals out there like that that have courage and have integrity, and it just gives me hope. Let's see here. A couple things in the chat room. Lots of people. I've got over 100 people listening live on YouTube. We have people listening on Facebook and Twitter and also on Twitch. All of those platforms are welcome. I'm not monitoring those chats or those comments, but I will after the program. I will respond to it, and I will be in Discord after the program, and I'll put my Discord invite, or I'll get my staff to do it in the last half hour, and that way you guys can join me after the program if you want for a little bit. Let's see here. Justin, good to see you out there. Stop child trafficking. Aren't you encouraged by the protests that are occurring all over the world? Not just the yellow vests, but all the way to Beverly Hills. One of my friends, Apollo Asteria, she has been on this program once. I've seen her at a couple conferences. A great personality. She's very active. And she's out there marching, and she's out there producing videos from the march. So very encouraged by that. Save the children. Let's see. Yeah, I get it, William. Brooks really honestly looks younger today. It's weird. Well, it's true. I am younger. It is true. Yes, this is the present, but don't worry about it, okay? I've done this myself. I've been on the air for 15 years. I've been doing YouTubes for, 10 years, but only as programs, live programs, for about a year. So I went back and looked at some of the YouTubes that I did like 4 years ago. And William's right. I do look younger today than I did 4 years ago. And that's just the magic of supplements and working out, taking care of yourself. Let's see. What else is out there? No secret. No secret. Just keep your heart full of love, and you'll be surprised what it'll do for you. I know my first hour overlaps with Red Pill 78, who's also a friend of mine. Been on his program and thoroughly enjoyed myself. Brilliant young personality out there. He's got, 300,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. Really, really does a fine job. And he's got a great voice and a great analytical mind and follows Q. I don't follow Q, but all of that. He does a great job, but his show overlaps mine 1 hour. Only suggestion I have is watch both. Watch both programs. But you can participate here live for the last 2 hours. I do a 3-hour program on Sunday and a 2-hour program on Wednesday nights. And then I share a program on Monday nights with Lucky on Truth Frequency called Quantum Connections. We've been helping her out for a couple of years, and I really enjoy it. Alan says, I'm the only Twitch viewer because I looked for you. If you use Twitch's options to sort this show into their talk shows and podcast category, random people would find their way to the show. I'm a newbie to Twitch. I thought it was mostly for gamers, so I didn't pay much attention to it. So you're saying that I should route the program to talk shows and podcasts. Well, I'll see what I can do. I appreciate the advice. And Aurora Keene, I haven't seen you before, but if I haven't, if you've been there before, I apologize. But welcome to the program. Says there have been suspicious protesters for We Go In, We Go All, black masks, and their mannerism. You can tell they are not real. Yeah, see, where we go one, we go all. But where they go, no. So we have a certain walk. We have a certain cadence. We have an oath that we take to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We have an oath to accept any assignment wherewith we are assigned by the Commander-in-Chief, namely our President, President Trump. So that's where the whole movement derived, was during the Trump campaign. It is not a conspiracy. We are not a conspiracy. We are Americans. In fact, we are America. Cheat by mail passed today in Congress. Unbelievable. It's not going to get signed into law, but here's the thing. The other president of the United States, the drunk Speaker of the House, produced a bill pumping an additional $25 billion into the USPS with the specific task of facilitating 25 million illegal aliens to vote for Joe Biden. It's as simple as that. And I have digested the entire bill down to just that. The Democrat-led U.S. House of Representatives voted yesterday to provide the cash-strapped Postal Service with $25 billion and block policy changes that have stirred concerns about mail-in balloting ahead of the November 3rd election. The 257 to 150 vote sent the legislation dubbed the Delivering for America Act on to the Republican-controlled Senate, but the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said in a statement that the Senate would absolutely not pass the standalone bill. The White House also strongly opposed the legislation and has said it would recommend that President Donald Trump veto the measure. But more than 24 House Republicans broke ranks to join the Democrats in approving the bill. I'm going to let you know who they are in the coming weeks so we can end their rhino careers as well. With cheat by mail voting expecting to surge during Operation Corona Scare, Trump has alarmed Democrats by repeatedly denouncing mail-in ballots as a possible source of fraud. Democrats who accuse Trump of trying to discourage mail-in balloting to gain an electoral advantage over Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden cast themselves as defenders of a public that relies on the Postal Service for vital deliveries, including prescription drugs, blah, 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 blah. All of that, of course, is a big fat lie. The American people do not want anyone messing with the post office, she said. Not going to even finish the statement. This is a result of a legislative process only slightly less absurd than the conspiracies, insinuations, and fabrications that gave rise to the purported need for it, said Republican Representative James Corner. And I agree with him. I'm sorry, Comer. The 26 Republicans who supported the measure represented that more than 1 in 10 House Republican members, that's crazy, isn't it? Another 23 Republicans didn't even vote. If you ever doubted the power of the global syndicate, here is truth, so listen closely. Those congressmen know that they will not be reelected if their Facebook pages are put in jail. Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube have all colluded to block Republican ads, posts, pages, and campaigns on their services. Despite that, Laura Loomer won. One of the reasons is she appeared on this program. They accept donations from these powerhouses. Their source of money dries up. Their ads go away. They are summarily tossed out of office by the syndicate. Now you know what the power is. As lawmakers prepared to vote, Trump took to Twitter to accuse Pelosi and Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer of seeking unnecessary funding for the Postal Service, and trying to pull off a universal mail-in ballot scam. I call it cheat by mail. Vote no to the Pelosi-Schumer money-wasting hoax, which is taking place now, the president wrote. In fact, the House bill would prevent DeJoy, who's now the manager of the Postal Service, from taking any action that would impede service until next January or the end of the coronavirus health emergency, whichever comes later. Our legislation is not just about the election. It's about, surprise, surprise, Mr. Postmaster General, the coronavirus, Pelosi told a news conference. Well, it's all a big fat lie. She said Trump's attacks on mail-in voting were part of a larger effort to suppress voting. It also includes his recent call for law enforcement officers to monitor voting at polling places. If you're listening, Mr. President, and I know someone on your staff is, you should have the National Guard at all polling places to ensure no one hauls counterfeit ballots into the precinct. This will require round-the-clock vigilance to stop. So I talk about the Global Syndicate, and it is a creation of mine in my book, Charm of Favor. It is a multiple-time Amazon bestseller. It's been out since December of 2017. You know, Q started posting in October of 2017. And it's kind of remarkable how Q has followed, chapter almost by chapter, the questions and answers that I put in the book. Yes, it is an action novel. It does include real names and real events. And for the large part, the book is real. And I advertise it that it is a true story of the rise of the Clinton crime syndicate, only as a type and a shadow of the Global Syndicate. The Democrat National Virtual Convention opened Monday of this week with a 2-hour primetime Bash Trump Fest. Now, if nothing else, we learned the Washington establishment hates Donald Trump. No, really. They hate the Orange Man. In Tuesday's installment, we learned why. It has nothing to do with Charlottesville. It has nothing to do with the post office or Twitter or golfing or anything like that. I'm going to share with you my discovery from the convention. On Tuesday, viewers were treated to a parade of the bipartisan authors and architects of the globalist policies that have destroyed American jobs, farms, industries, bled us in endless wars, ostensibly to make the world safe for democracy, while enriching the donors who support Washington politicians with campaign funds and insider deals. Are you listening, Dianne Feinstein? I felt we were finally getting to the core of the hatred at this point. It wasn't personal. It was business. The initial infomercial told every single voter what a victim they are, and that they can now aim their despair at someone chosen by the demo cult. And so they featured the perpetually forlorn face of John Kerry. Yes, the former Secretary of State explained why Orange Man is so bad, with all the aloofness and condescension that cost him the presidency in 2004. I quote, "On June 6, 1944, young Americans gave their lives and the beaches of Normandy to liberate the world from tyranny. Out of the ashes of that war, we made peace and rebuilt the world. That was and remains exceptional. It is the opposite of everything Donald Trump stands for," he spoke, almost cartoonish countenance in a rare display of candor. Well, that was it now, wasn't it? Kerry gave up the game. In a few short sentences, he summed up the Global Syndicate's 75-year pursuit. Since the end of World War II, one administration after another, through a permanent war, industrial complex, Democrat and Republican, saw it as our duty to rebuild the world. The shiny new barbed wire of communism was carefully woven into the fabric of America. Build back better. The words of Mao Zedong and Stalin all redone in color. First it was Europe and Japan that needed rebuilding, so we gave them our automobile and consumer electronics industries. Then it was Korea and the Third World, so we gave them steel and textiles and garments. Then the pashas of the global empire decided we could rebuild China in our image and give them rocket technology and shift all of our manufacturing to their cheap labor camps they call cities. The result was the same as it was in 1929. Their goal was the same as it was when the Democrats crushed the booming economy of Herbert Hoover. The Roaring Twenties became the grapes of wrath. The American middle class crumbled and blew away like a tumbleweed in the ceaseless winds of the global media empire. Within a few months, the Democrat from New York was installed, and for nearly 17 years, the only hope Americans had of ever eating again was to put on a green uniform and run in front of machine guns and kill other middle-class people around the world. After all, it was the patriotic thing to do, according to the Yankee Doodle Dandy and the Hollywood studios. It was all done under the rubric of global free trade, the label slapped on agreements including GATT, the WTO, NAFTA, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. California U.S. Representative Bertrand Gerhard saw what was up with the free trade game as far back as 1947. When Congress debated the Reciprocal Trade Acts Agreement, Gerhard predicted, and I quote, "When the truth is told and the facts become known, the trade agreements program will be revealed as no less than a plot to merge the American economy with that of the world. This, despite an inevitable destruction of our standard of living, our high wage scales, and our most favorable working conditions, in all of which is inextricably involved the American way of life." Close quote. While rebuilding the world, the global syndicate, meticulously disguised as the establishment, made peace through superior firepower and created refugee crises at every stop, with endless factory-made wars in Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, and Latin America. And then Kerry let it slip. He pointed to something President Trump had said in his inaugural speech. I quote, "It is the opposite of everything Donald Trump stands for," said John Kerry. After all, the very best lies have some truth in them now, don't they? And I'm going to share for you now what it is President Trump said that started that war, what made the Orange Man bad, why the Democrats hate him so much, why the establishment wanted to destroy him. I quote, "Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Today's ceremony, however, has a very special meaning. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the American people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left, and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes, starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. Close quote. Yes, President Donald J. Trump opposes the neoconservatives' nation-building, democracy exporting, and permanent war culture regime changing crusades that have had a death grip on generations of young men and women from America. He is bringing our troops home from every permanent battle in the world. Yes, President Trump opposes the neoliberal, sovereignty-eating international agreements that have sent our jobs and industries to cheap foreign labor camps in the third world. He opposes the notion that our government should rebuild the world. He wants to rebuild America. He said it thousands of times, America first. For 87 years, members of the Washington establishment, a government industrial complex including academia, think tanks, defense contractors, military, lobbyists, media, and politicians, Democrat and Republican, have planted, fertilized, and reaped their fortunes on this rebuild the world, kill for peace global syndicate project. Donald J. Trump flat out opposes it. He stated it clearly, and he is marching like an angel toward that goal. They tried to kill him, his family, and now they have tried to kill you too. They really needed millions of you to die, you know. That's why the global syndicate, to which each of those who spoke this week have made an oath and a covenant, hates him. That is precisely why the American people elected him. Where there were 63 million in 2016, there are 100 million now. Victory at the polls in November will only open the door to more battles in our Democrat cities. They will burn themselves to the ground because that is their oath to the dark lords of the global syndicate. This does not happen in American cities. American mayors have made no such covenant. American governors are allowing their people to vote in person. Syndicate governors have implemented cheat by mail to dump American votes in the trash while letting 25 million foreign citizens vote in our election. It can be stopped. It must be stopped. There are two ways America loses this November. First, counterfeit votes will be counted and China Joe Biden wins. I highly doubt this will actually happen. Second, the attempt to steal the election by the global syndicate will be exposed, throwing the entire election into chaos and confusion. Believe me, thousands of attorneys are on retainer to sue the election into oblivion. Thousands more are on retainer to stop them, which will throw the entire election once more to the bench of the Supreme Court. Once again, the judicial branch will decide who sits in the executive branch. Don't think for 1 minute that their decision will be peacefully accepted by either loser. Just remember that the global syndicate has a creed. It is not enough to win. All others must lose. Have a quick note. I can do that. We're going to add another moderator in the chat room. So don't tune out just yet, because I have a message of hope in the next segment. Okay, we're going to go to a break here in just a minute. I do want to remind you that if you bought one of my books, you can get the free signature card to put in the books. And I also want to remind you that I have added the wristbands that say the present from the future. For those of you that have taken the class, thinking about taking the class, or need to take the class, you could have it. It's in my store at brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. Just click on the store button. And I'll take care of that administrative thing in the chat room right now. Thank you so much for being part of the program. Don't tune out just yet. Message of hope coming up right after the break. Final segment. This is X Squared Radio coming to you live through the America Free Radio studios, simulcasting on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, where the Truth Freaks hang out. We are not afraid to let our Truth Freak flag fly. Don't forget to follow me. It will treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite feeds our body with the right nutrients to keep us healthy. Just listen to what Arthur has to say.
I was just calling to tell you what a great product you have. I had used this about 10 years ago after I had congestive heart failure. And it fixed me up and got me going for the last 10 years. Lately, I've been having heart trouble again. So I placed another order because this was the only thing that ever worked. And I just wanted to let you know that you have a great product.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
It's a great product. And the one thing I like about it the most is that when you open the bottles, you can smell like the scent of the fruits and veggies. It's no genius thing to it. It's really just fruits and veggies, which everyone needs. And you guys kind of put it in a way where you can take it easy and you can get it, and it's natural, and that's what I like about it. You know, I like the product, and I've taken it, and it's definitely made me feel a lot better. You know, I am a healthy person to begin with, but it's definitely good prevention, and it's definitely gives me energy, and I feel like it's a natural thing. I like it. I really do.
For a limited time, use discount code TALK to receive a 50% discount on your first preferred whole health system and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Again, use discount code TALK.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They've killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are EFR, your protection from deception.
Final segment tonight here on X Squared Radio, coming to you live through the America Free Radio studios, and we are simulcasting on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. We're participating in the YouTube chat room, and we're also simulcasting in audio on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, where we've been now for 5 years. It's a real pleasure to be with such great people. Christian Shree do a great job putting this network together. I implore each of you to go there and subscribe and get on my newsletter. It don't cost nothing. That means it's free. You can go to my website, brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. It's very easy to navigate. I've made it so. And you can also go to americafreeradio.com. Please share that with your friends. We're not getting enough traffic on that website for some reason. And don't forget, right there on the front is the vote button. Go find out where and when you can vote. Some of you can vote early, some of you can't. Some have to vote by mail. If you live in Hawaii, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. You have to vote by mail. If they don't mail you a ballot, I just don't know what to do about that. So the point is to be informed and to be in the right place. All right, I promised you a message of hope. I wrote this, and I will pontificate in between the lines. And this isn't something you need to share with everyone unless you need the affirmation. I want you to go back with me to a dusty evening after a long day's walk with Jesus. You're traveling light. It's not a caravan. You're relying on the charity of those who want to hear your words, receive a blessing, or just know that the rumors of a Messiah are true. Knowledge is a much softer pillow at night than faith. You're not the speaker. You're the listener. You're just happy to be walking with them. You know the future, but you have the same questions as the people who you saw today. The same questions that the common men who are now followers and disciples, soon to be apostles of the Christ, have. It comes from Matthew 22, verses 36 through 40. I've shared this with you a few times. I do it in my live presentation. Master, because they had traveled with him a long time, been through a lot, seen a lot, of course, seen more miracles than most people, unless others have followed him and been the recipient of those miracles. But they're also Jews. They also are subject to the law. They have laws everywhere for everything, entering and leaving synagogues, making sacrifices, saying words, greeting women. I mean, just all kinds of rules and laws. Some are great and some are minor, but all carry penalties with them, going all the way back to the Passover when Moses led the slaves away from Egypt. So they asked him, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? And Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. That's pretty powerful, because that is not the message of the Old Testament. That is not the message from the God of the Old Testament. Elohim did not give that law. Elohim chiseled his law in stone tablets and said, Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. Restricted them. He was deadly. He was genocidal. He was brutal in his judgments. There was no mercy. There was no charity. There was death. And entire regions were wiped out under his orders. So for these individuals and for you and for countless others who read these words in Matthew, it's easy to read. But it's hard to truly understand unless you travel back like I did, and you sit and you listen in the twilight before you fall into a deep sleep and come back to the future, which is the present to you and me. Remember, this was written in Greek. It was written the way Greeks write, with the conclusion first and then the premises. So let's arrange it the way we think, with the subject and then the verb, etc. After all, being told to love the Lord thy God with everything you have is a little like being handed the big end of the bat and told to go to the plate and hit a home run. You're holding on to the wrong end. Try this. Thou shalt love thyself. Mean it. You know your glory is the most valuable thing in the universe, and that gods, angels, and demons are competing for it. Don't let anyone take it from you, and don't give it away like some cheap thing you don't even care about. Realize you are a being of glory, and every single mortal day of your many lives, you are growing and adding to it, or taking away from the stature of that glory. Pray for yourself. Although this is the lowest form of prayer, only higher in vibration than rituals and prayers over food or journeys, love yourself. Only then can you go to the next step. It's a difficult thing to do. Not many people master this, even in a lifetime. They struggle with it. But then, once you're able to do that, once you're able to sleep with yourself, once you're able to wake with yourself, get through a day, get through a night, take care of yourself, please yourself, care for yourself, then you can love your neighbor as yourself. Empathy? Yes. Discipline and control of the eye? Yes. Watching for the same glory in them that is in you? Yes. One person, and then another, and then all those you can see are trying same as you. Remember, there are demons out there who are very skillful, although not very intelligent when it comes to glory. They want you to give away your glory. They want you to abdicate your life for power and wealth and sex and pleasure and gluttony in this life, in a Faustian trap that seems to be working very well in places like Portland and Seattle. Demons believe everyone should lose. They want everyone to hate. They want rage and violence everywhere. Just listen to their voices on the megaphone. Listen to the many cell phone videos that are out there on any social media you want to. Listen to their voices. Every video you see on social media has these demons screaming out of the human body. There is a rage and a possession of evil that tears at the throat as it scrapes its way past the will of the human body. There is no love left in these people. They are already dead. There is no light left in them, and they will not recover, not in this lifetime. It is what the demonic power wants to do to you. You feel it. It's right there. It's lurking behind your self-control. The way clear is to love other people as yourself, and then to pray for them and leave them better than you found them. Give them something. Pray for them. This is the highest level of prayer. If everyone prayed for everyone else, you could see the end result. Look what happens when 100 million Americans and 200 million people outside America pray for President Trump. That much glory focused in the right place on the right person will change the world. It will save the world. The entire universe is watching us right now to see what we will do. It is this love that will save the universe. And by doing this, you are loving God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. Ultimately, this collection of glory creates universes. Mind you, it is a collection, not a collective. We are not a hive. We are a community of individuals. We are each unique with our own sole address in the universe. We are perfect models of ourselves. There is no other like us. So please stop trying to be another person. Your clothes, your makeup, your tattoos, and the works of your hands are yours. It is a valuable and eternal gift you have to give according to your own will and choice. And make it great or not. Your choice. Die in ignominy or live in the history books. It's your choice. You have never needed the affirmation or the validation of another human being to be who you are. There are no other gods before God. You come after. And he is so pleased that you do. The greatest gift of any father is to have their children be like them, perhaps even better. From here on out, I recommend you only have moments. No more punctuating your life with paydays or vacations or as soon as I do anythings. See the moments coming like a good wave. Turn and paddle with everything you have and ride it until its energy fades into quantum foam. I promise your life will change the instant you step on that path. I maintain that you will never look back at the treadmill. You will never want that blue pill ever again. If you want to learn how to make that jump, just reach out. Take a master class. I'll be happy to give you the tools. So let's go. That's my message of hope. You can cut that out. You can print it or copy it or save it on your phone, and you can listen to it later. I also want to make the case, just changing gears a little bit because I got to talk about space, right? In honor of Neil Armstrong and the hat. And I want to make the case because recently there was a close pass by a large asteroid, if not a planet killer, but certainly enough to ruin our day. And you know, I've placed a call to action to form the Global Telescope Network. And if you'd like to learn more about it, it doesn't take anything to get involved. Just visit my website, brooksagnew.com, and then click on the GTN link. It stands for Global Telescope Network. I kind of hide it a little bit because I want people to go there on purpose. We are looking for some special people. We're looking for grant writers. And we're looking for people that own really good telescopes. On Thursday, the astronomer Alan Duffy's phone was suddenly flooded with calls from reporters wanting to know about a large asteroid that had just whizzed past Earth. And he couldn't figure out why everyone was so alarmed. I thought everyone was getting worried about something we knew was coming, he said. He's a lead scientist at the Royal Institute of Australia. Forecasts had already predicted that a couple of asteroids would be passing relatively close to Earth this week. And then he looked up the details of the hunk of space rock named Asteroid 2019 OK. I was stunned, he said. This was a true shock. The asteroid wasn't one that the scientists had long been tracking just since 2019, and it had seemingly appeared out of nowhere. Michael Brown, a Melbourne-based observational astronomer, told the Washington Post, according to data from NASA, this craggy rock was large, an estimated 57 to 130 meters wide, and moving fast, along a path that brought it within about 73,000 kilometers. That's about 45,000 miles of Earth. That's like right over there. That's less than 1/5 the distance to the moon, and what Duffy considers uncomfortably close. It snuck up on us pretty quickly, said Brown, an associate professor in Australia with Monash University School of Physics and Astronomy. He later noted, and I quote, "People are only sort of realizing what happened pretty much after it already flung past us," close quote. I gotta tell you, Earth Explorers, that's not what you want to see happen. You don't want to see asteroids after they get here. It's too late. The asteroid's presence was discovered only earlier this week by separate astronomy teams in Brazil and the U.S. Information about its size and path was announced just hours before it shot past Earth. Mr. Brown said, It shook me out my morning complacency. It's probably the largest asteroid to pass this close to Earth in quite a number of years. So, how did the event almost go unnoticed? First, there's the issue of size, Duffy said. Asteroid 2019 OK is a sizable chunk of rock, but it's nowhere near as big as the ones capable of causing an event like the dinosaurs' extinction. More than 90% of those asteroids, which are more than half a mile wide or larger, have already been identified by NASA and its partners. Nothing this size is easy to detect. You're really relying on reflected sunlight, and even at closest approach it was barely visible with a pair of binoculars. Brown said the asteroid's eccentric orbit and speed were also likely factors in what made spotting it ahead of time challenging. It's a very elliptical orbit. Takes it from beyond Mars to within orbit of Venus, which means the amount of time it spends near Earth where it's detectable isn't very long, not very long at all. As it approached Earth, the asteroid was traveling fast, about 24 kilometers per second. That's about 55,000 miles an hour, somewhere around there. By contrast, other recent asteroids flew by Earth that clocked in between 4 and 19 kilometers per hour. That's about, between 9,000 and about 45,000 miles an hour. Not super slow, but easier to spot. These dark asteroids, especially the metallic ones, they're dark. They're faint for a long time. Within a week or so to go, it's getting bright enough to detect, but someone actually needs to be looking at that spot. And that's the hard part. Nobody's looking. These government telescopes, they're all contracted. If they happen to catch something, it's just by chance. That's why the Global Telescope Network is so important. We're talking about contracting 4,000 to 5,000 telescopes, looking at assigned parsecs of space, and then stitching all those together, night after night, creating a moving map of everything that's moving in space. This last-minute detection is yet another sign of how much remains unknown about space, and a sobering reminder of the very real threat asteroids can pose. We could stop it. We could detect this in advance. That's what the Global Telescope Network is all about. So check it out. See if there's a way you can contribute. And let's go ahead and pick this last call up in Tennessee. Welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Hello, Brooks. This is Bomar.
Hey, good to hear your voice, sir. What's up?
I wanted to say thank you very much.
For what?
Well, you gave me a wrench.
That's
so
right.
I can now put in, log links or web links. Hey, got a question. I just listened on that. That asteroid was actually halfway between the Earth and the ISS.
No, the ISS orbits at about 240 miles. This was out about...
And I thought you just said that was, 125?
No, this is at about 45,000 miles. It's about a fifth the way to the moon.
45,000. Okay,
Yeah.
I misunderstood. No big deal.
Yeah, that's still pretty close. Earth is kind of a small target, and close enough to where the gravitational pull of Earth pulled on that asteroid, and the next time it comes around in 2021, it could be even closer to Earth. That's why we need the Global Telescope Network. We need to have months of warning when these things are coming around. And the only way to do it, like Alan Duffy says, is we need to be looking in the right direction. And that's why I'm trying to contract 8-inch or larger private telescopes to look at a fixed point in space night after night. They go and take a composite photograph. It takes about 3 minutes to take the picture with a motor drive telescope. Draws in a tremendous amount of light, and then that image is uploaded to the server, and the server stitches all these things together to create a map of space from which any asteroid approaching Earth would have to pass. And we should be able to...
If anybody wants to buy a telescope like that, Sky and Telescope is a magazine. You can buy those telescopes right through that magazine.
That's right. Sky and Telescope sells them. Meade makes a good one. Orion makes a good one. There are lots of good telescopes out there, but there are telescopes sitting in cases all over the country that are totally qualified to do this. And what we want to do is pay these people anywhere from $200 to $500 a month to send in these pictures. They'll be contracted to make these images as long as they have a clear sky. And what we can do over a period of time, weeks or even months, we'll be able to see particles moving in space because we'll have these images one after the other after the other. And in the database...
I understand.
The database will be available.
I understand that. You remember the beginning of what it was at Independence Day?
Yeah.
When that guy was in the lawn chair sitting under the telescope?
Yeah.
Wasn't that movie?
Yeah, and there was another movie
That's what we need.
that was called Deep Impact. Remember Biddleman?
Oh, Deep Impact. I'm sorry.
And
all
that
those
was
three came out that same year.
And that was patterned after a book that was called Lucifer's Hammer. Lucifer's Hammer by Larry Niven and Jerry Purnell. It was it wasn't so much what happened before the impact, it's what happened after the impact that book was about. But yes, the whole ELE, the extinction level event that they were talking about with Morgan Freeman, all that is real. And it could be done as long as, we catch it. But if we don't catch it, you know what would have happened if that asteroid would have hit? Everyone would have said, why the hell didn't you see that?
New York would have been gone and everything within 500 miles.
If it would have landed in the ocean, it would have been devastating for sure.
Well, the ocean is what, 71% of the Earth?
Yes, about 4/7 of the Earth, yeah.
Yeah. So, what can you say? We hope for Earth landing.
Yeah, just not on our continent. It still would be devastating.
No.
We're talking, mega tons of energy released. Hey, listen, I appreciate the phone call and welcome to the community of Blue Wrenches. So you're now a moderator
No problem.
on America Free Radio.
Do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions right now. I got about 1 minute to close it out.
Understand. I'll let you go. Thank you, and have a good evening.
All right. Thank you, my friend. All right,
Okay,
Earth Explorers, remember to go out and look for the good in others and help it to grow a little bit every day. And before long, you will have saved the planet. My name is Brooks Agnew. Remember that. Share this with friends. And this is America Free Radio, X Squared Radio, through the America Free Radio studios, saying, peace, Earth Explorers. Remember, where we go one, we go all.